And here we are again, Tuesday night, ready for another episode of Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Stu Myrick, and as you can see, I'm waiting again on Justin Simmons, but he will be here. He'll probably walk in. Oh, I'd say in the next 5 minutes. Um, Tonight's going to be kind of weird. It's going to be kind of odd. You know, when I came up with the idea for the show, and recruited Justin, I wanted the show to be fun. Wrestling is supposed to be fun. I've always said that. I despise those that try to make angst out of wrestling. It is supposed to be just like any other form of entertainment. It's supposed to take your mind off whatever is happening during in the day. So I'm gonna put this on because I forget that the. But anyway, you're supposed to enjoy wrestling. You're supposed to enjoy what you see on the screen, in the ring, whatever. In the last few days, on top of the Black Lives Matter movement, where and this affects several wrestlers of color. But in the last few days, we've also had the speaking out movement, where several women, female wrestlers, fans, what have you, have come out with stories regarding what they've experienced. As Justin walks through the door, hi Justin. You want your water? You're gonna get water? Or you okay? What's up, man? Good to see you. Missed you last week, but I had like interviews, so I mean, Stu Bennett is nice, but he's no you.
I figured that he could be just as mean.
He
No?
was actually very nice.
No, can he say the line that
Yeah.
he used to use?
Bad news? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he gave us a reader that uses it.
Nice.
So, no, I was just explaining that this week is going to be a little different because we are going to address what we have seen with the speaking out movement. There have been several allegations against a myriad of wrestlers. Um, we've seen promotions react. We've seen people take themselves off of social media. This is it's sad because some of these people we've interacted with a lot. At least two of them I count as friends. So to see what they have done, it's sickening. And so we're going to try to muddle through it. The whole show will not be about that. We will have our usual, we'll talk about what's been going on. Like the last ride. We had the final chapter of the last ride. We got to talk about that. I mean, Undertaker does live here, so well, not here, but he lives in Austin, so he might listen tomorrow night on the horn. He can pick it up. He can pick it up pretty good. Our transmitter's kind of down there, so
I was gonna
possible.
say it's pretty close.
Yeah, so we got to talk about like Bray Wyatt. So we've already we're going to put away the Fiend for a while and go back to Wyatt family Bray Wyatt. So we'll see we'll talk about that later. A couple other little news and notes and everything. So, but this first segment's going to be. It's gonna be. We're gonna hash this. We're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna give our feelings about it. And just try the best we can to try to make sense of this and understand that we stand with everybody that's been hurt. We stand with everybody that's been, whether it's been hurt through this or through any type of racism or anything like that. Like I said, we've got we've been lucky enough to make a lot of friends in wrestling. Several of them have been affected by this, and we stand with them. And so we'll hit record and get going. As always, this will air tomorrow night on the Horn, 1049 1019 AM 1260 here in Austin. It'll also be put up as a podcast. So get everything set. And here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
This is Ricky Starks, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons here. How you doing, Justin? As we weren't together last week, so gave you the break. Huge thanks, by the way, to Stu Bennett and Taya Valkyrie for coming on the show.
A lot transpired between then.
A lot has transpired.
It's hard to have any real, decently. I feel decent myself personally, but
Right.
I mean, after reading everything that's been happening, it's hard to feel good.
It's been 2020 has been probably the I don't want to say weirdest. It's just been so far, and we're coming up, towards the end of June, and it has been it's been one thing after another, from the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, now speaking out. It's just seems one thing after another. We want to talk a little bit about speaking out and a little bit about Black Lives Matter, because we haven't really addressed it. It's hard for me. I don't know. You and I, we've got our age difference. I'm 51 years old. I grew up watching Mid-South and World Class on a little 12-inch TV, and thought I had the world, in my hand. It was fantastic. And being oblivious to a lot of what happens behind the scenes. As far as racism goes, I have been very blessed that I was raised by a woman that loved everybody. It didn't matter who you were. If you came to our house, she was going to feed you, and she was going to treat you like you were one of her own. And my mother, God rest her soul, did that to her dying day. Didn't matter. Didn't matter what you look like. And luckily, I gained that from her. If I don't know if you can, I guess, well, you can kind of see it on the video, but there's in the corner, the poster from the very first independent wrestling event I went to, Inspire Pro Wrestling, back in 2016, January 2016. And these posters, I've got little pictures underneath of people that made an impact, at that night or that event, or people that were important to me. And under the Inspire Pro poster, I have a picture of myself I have two pictures. Ray Rowe, now Eric, one half of Viking Raiders, and Keith Lee. And even on the other wall, the corner where I've got all the stuff from G1 Supercard. Besides myself and Kerry Silken, I've got the picture of myself and Shane Taylor. Because having called matches of Shane's, having been there at Pinball's Kingdom when there were 100, 150 people, for Shane to now say he has wrestled at the most famous arena, the very arena that Bruno Sammartino sold out for 170 something shows, and I pointed that out to him, and I couldn't be more proud of him. 'Cause he's a friend. He's someone I know has worked so hard to provide for his family, his beautiful family, and to make himself a name in pro wrestling, and so we've had that for a while. We got reminded of it this weekend with the alleged noose that was in Bubba Wallace's garage at Talladega in NASCAR. And NASCAR issued a statement. FBI completed their investigation, saying it wasn't a noose per se. I'll leave that to interpretation. However, it was neat to see the NASCAR community come together for Bubba. And not to mention, Bubba had a chance at winning the race. But it's the same thing with wrestling. My eyes light up every time I see Keith Lee on TV, because we know Keith. We've worked with Keith. We've had I've had countless conversations. I've still got them stored somewhere. All the interviews that he and I have done, and that was one of my absolute highlights every night when we'd go to Inspire and Keith was on the card. I didn't care what we talked about. I just wanted to talk to Keith because I thought he was one of the most, not just one of the most intelligent, but just one of the most engaging individuals I had ever met. And I admire him so much. And then this speaking out, as men that are in this industry, to fathom the acts that have been alleged, for the first time in 4 decades, I questioned my fanhood. I didn't know what to think. I was like, do I want to watch Raw tonight? Do I want to keep watching wrestling? I was just sickened. I mean, and Justin, I don't know. I mean, what did you've seen some of these stories? I mean, what was your reaction?
Well, first off, Stu, I think it's not hard to say it. So it's very easy to say Black Lives Matter.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So the speaking out wise, look, if the stories are out there, I have to believe the victim. I don't think there's a reason why they're making it up.
Yeah.
And regardless if you question when they come forward, how much time it takes to come forward, there's always a reason why it doesn't happen. And you see it on social media sometimes where somebody's just getting attacked just for trying to tell their side of the story, and it's unnecessary. So in lieu of that, I will say, I hate to say it like this, but just being, I guess, the word pragmatic here, is that this is professional wrestling. It was founded by carnies. This was always a business of outlaws and oddities and people that just didn't necessarily fit in. And it's not like we just had this issue just now. There's always been those rumors. You wouldn't have a series like Dark Side of the Ring if this series wasn't messed up to its core when it was built. I'm sorry, that's how it was. Now, I think it's great that this new generation of professional wrestler and new generation of fan want to see this sport cleaned up into something to be respected and something that is acceptable to the masses. Yeah. Because for all the good purposes of professional wrestling, it's always had those black clouds overhead, just kind of always leaving people questioning, like, is it really right for me to like this particular performer because of these allegations? Is it right for me to continue watching or idolizing some ex-professional wrestler because of what they had become later on in life? It's very similar to what people thought about O.J. Simpson. Do you still like Jimmy Snuka? It's it's these situations, and this is just another one of those issues that has finally come to light and need to come to light through an industry that still is learning to become a big business, I feel.
That's a great point, Justin. Yeah, it's and we've seen that just dealing with media relations. Being in media, wrestling promotions. There are some wrestling promotions that, and I'm not talking about it's not necessarily the big ones, but independent promotions that still have that mentality of we don't let anybody in. We don't, and we've seen more and more of open up to guys like us that we want to go and cover it and so on and so forth. But you're right. It's a thing where, like I said, it's been hard for the business to evolve, for the industry to evolve. Like you said, the stories have been out there, and this is going back to when I watched as a kid. Later I heard the stories about, like, for instance, the Von Erichs, enjoyed the nightlife in Dallas sometimes way too much. I mean, heck, that's why it's part of the reason why there's only one left.
Well,
and Kevin.
I was going to say the Horsemen. I mean, that was their whole gimmick.
Exactly.
That's because they lived it.
Exactly. Jim Ross tells story after story about the all-nighters that he would pull with Ric Flair and the Horsemen back in the Crockett days.
Stu, it might just be a deeper conversation of social context of what it is to be I guess I'm trying to think of the correct term for it, but I'm sorry, I can't think of what it is, but a man in current society, or not
to be a proper citizen. I think that's kind of the.
Well, no, I'm saying that. I think sometimes there's that machismo factor as a professional wrestler, and you act a certain way because that's how the old timers used to do it. And because of that, there's still a lot of people that have that mentality. It's like, this is the way the business has always been. This is the way I was treated. So therefore, this is the way I'm going to treat the next generation of professional wrestler. And this is the generation that won't stand for that, which is great because this does need to change. But it is very sad to know that there are a lot of prominent wrestlers that have continued to do these sort of things. To a lot of talent.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories out there, and there's a lot of names floating.
I mean, I even told you, at least 2 weeks before this even became, before Speaking Out even broke, was like somebody that I knew, that I had wrestled with. Like, they were talking to an underage girl, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, and
this
now
guy?
now it seems like every 5 minutes on Twitter, I see somebody else speaking out, and I admire the bravery of these women that are speaking out. At the same time, it's affected, like I said, men we know, some we've called friends. I'll mention one, Sammy Guevara. In fact, we were supposed to have Sammy Guevara on the show this week. I had gotten word, I believe it was Friday, that Sammy wasn't available. Now, this was long before I knew what was going on. I thought maybe it was just it was a production deal and he wasn't available, so no big deal. But then came the thing about apparently in 2016 on a podcast somewhere, he had said he had made an inappropriate joke about Sasha Banks. And that clip has since been publicized. Sammy has apologized. Sasha, he's reached out to Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks and Sammy have had a conversation. Sasha put out a statement, an absolutely beautiful and professional statement. And
she shouldn't have to, though, man.
Well, you're right.
That's
she didn't.
Just it.
And
that's the whole point. Is that this shouldn't have to be a thing for her to have to deal with.
Right.
And she's the one that had to And they've been doing this for way too long, where they have to necessarily turn the other cheek, and they have to rise above, and they have to pretend to roll with the punches in order to keep their spot.
You're right. They didn't have to, but
But
Sasha did.
I will say this though, Stu. What Sammy did in comparison to a lot of other people that are being called out,
Right, and that's kind of where I was going. But you're right.
You know, if you're going to put it on a scale, maybe his is a 2. It's nowhere near those 9s or 10s where they shouldn't be doing any of those things.
You're right. You know, after that, AEW has suspended Sammy Guevara without pay. He's going to attend sensitivity training. They've also announced that Sammy's salary that he would have earned will be donated to a women's center in Jacksonville, Florida. So kudos to AEW for handling that. I still count Sammy as a friend. I hope he does learn. I am one of those, having worked in certain industries, I know that, you know, there are second chances. There is also chance for maturity. Let's remember, Sammy Guevara's 26, I think. So you're talking about someone that said something stupid when he was 22. And, you know, while I would have never made that kind of a comment, I'm sure I said something stupid when I was 22. We've all, you know, and that's another thing to understand is that, look, we condemn all the actions. We really do. But what we need to remember that there is a chance for people to change, to grow, and that there in like Sammy, let's give him that chance. I think he's.
I don't think anybody's going to argue the fact
Right.
that there's no possibilities for a second chance, but they also have to understand that the person that is receiving the second chance, so to speak, has to understand that they're going to be watched with a magnifying glass on them now.
And Sammy put out a video.
And not only that, Stu, but there has to be legitimate want to change. It can't be fake. It has to be real.
And fans can tell when it's fake.
The one aspect of professional wrestling that really should be real is here in the emotions of how you treat people. That goes for the people in the locker room, and this also transpires to the fans as well.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And
because
that's
some
thing.
of these talents weren't treating the fans well.
Right, and
or
that's
they were
the thing.
taking advantage of the fans,
And that's-
or taking advantage of underage fans. It was a really messed up situation for those that don't follow the sport that just happened to tune in on the horn this week.
Sadly, you know, like Jack Gallagher has been released by WWE because of allegations going back to his career in the UK, and this kind of started with the UK wrestling scene. There was stories that were coming out there, and it has just kind of blossomed. Jimmy Havoc, he's in rehab right now. So right now his status with AEW is in limbo. Impact Wrestling has cut Joey Ryan and Dave Chris for their actions. Joey Ryan's promotion, Bar Wrestling, has shut down. Joey has taken himself off social media. That's one of the ones that sickens me the most, because you and I have both interacted with Joey on numerous occasions. And I thought he was just a shy guy. Who knew? You know, and it's not just wrestlers. Dave Lagana, who was the vice president of Lightning One and the NWA, he has resigned from his post due to an allegation. Now he has put out a statement, letting people know his side of the story, and I'm not going to judge one way or the other. I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may, but he resigned from his position.
Joey Ryan, one of those really sickening, considering what his whole gimmick was based on.
That's the thing.
It's like maybe that's why it really worked for him, right? Because he was really that big of a sleazeball.
You think back to all that stuff. I mean, I was there in Chicago for All In when he came out with the druids dressed up like male genitalia, As I said, you and I've interacted.
Man, but
with
why
them.
that was ever accepted in the first place?
That's the thing.
I was like never been a huge fan. It's just like you just accept it because he got it over.
And fans did like it, So
Yeah.
at the same time, and that's the other thing. There are fans out there that probably should take a step back and look at how they conduct themselves. I hear, we hear it all the time in sports. I buy a ticket, I can react however I want, but, and I'll be honest, that's why I'll never sit in the stands for a Dallas Cowboys game. That's why the only time I'll go to Dallas Cowboys game is if I'm in a press box, because I don't like sitting around NFL fans because they're, nut jobs, quite frankly. We've seen fans that do not exhibit the best judgment. So this is kind of a message to everyone, fans, wrestlers, promoters. If you have any type of connection to pro wrestling, the simple request is be better. Be a better human. Be a better person. Understand that there are things you should never, ever, ever, ever do. Things you should never, ever, ever say.
Don't hide it, though. It's okay to speak out about it.
Don't
let it slide.
thing.
That's just it. This was an industry that has always let those things just slide.
Yes.
Because that's the way it's always been.
That goes for fans. That goes for wrestlers. If you hear somebody that says something out of line, call them out on it. Because Lord knows I will. There's a group of fans that always attend shows, and I know that they think they're fun-loving, but there are times when I really want them to shut the hell up, because they might be saying some, perfectly normal things. They might be saying inappropriate things. The fact of the matter is they ruin the enjoyment for some people. But if you hear somebody that says something inappropriate, lewd, call them out or point them out to the management of that promotion and let the management deal with them. But it has no place in professional wrestling. I don't ever want to feel, after 40-plus years, I don't ever want to feel like I should do away with my fandom of pro wrestling. I've always said, pro wrestling is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy ourselves. And doing those things goes so far against that. As we said to the women that have spoken out, we stand with you. And I put it out on Twitter today. I welcome any woman, anybody that has had some sort of experience like that. If they want to tell their story, you can message us on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever. Let us know. We'll bring you on, and we'll let you tell your story. But just realize it's not acceptable. And I applaud those that are calling the scumbags out. So, Justin, I feel like I've been preaching. Can you add anything, or?
I don't think I have anything else to add. I mean, we've already pretty much covered.
We did
exactly what should have been covered,
and that goes for racism too.
I think the only thing to understand is just be aware this is probably not the last of these allegations that we'll be seeing for a little while.
Nope.
I'm sure that there'll be more, and that there will be more ramifications. But this is something that is needed in order for this business, this sport of professional wrestling, if it wants to have a place in the main arena, so to speak, if it wants mainstream attention for the right reasons, it needs to clean up these things.
Yeah, I agree.
These issues.
Yeah, that's the thing. Whether it doesn't matter whether it's racism or sexual inappropriateness or whatever. it needs to be gone. It needs to leave pro wrestling, and leave pro wrestling to those of us that can carry it on with some dignity and some a sense of decency. So again, just it's hard to see those names, and we won't associate with some of the names that come out. We will not associate with them anymore. Others will, will at least. We're kind of with everybody else. We'll reserve judgment. So, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get back to the more fun aspect of pro wrestling. We'll talk about The Last Ride. We had the final chapter of The Undertaker's documentary. We'll talk about that and a few more things. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, streaming at hornfm.com and the Horn Austin app. Thanks, Justin. Was that okay? Did I miss anything?
I don't know, man. It went pretty long. So
It went long. I just, it's one of those things. Again, it's disgusting. Like I said, and especially some of the people that we know.
Yeah, but Stu, this is why I've never really tried to be friends with a lot of these guys.
I know.
It's just like I don't. When I was breaking into the business, like there was already guys that I worked with that already have been named already.
Right.
So
yeah, we
it's just kind of like, man, I had a feeling. You don't really think about it. Some of the ones I was really shocked. Others I was like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But it was just that's the way it was.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
I'm not saying it was right then. Didn't actually catch him doing anything. But you could have like, well, man, maybe that guy maybe what he was saying wasn't a joke after all. Maybe some of those comments that they were saying were absolutely their actual thought process, which is kind of sickening.
Right. And that's that's the other thing. It's like seeing some of these stories, and I saw somebody calling out wrestling media.
Dude, some of these guys have families, like with kids of their own.
And that's exactly. And it's not the media's job to police. It, and even to report about things like this. There's always a liability of slander if you get it wrong. I mean, it's not. I mean, there are things we can do if it's confirmed, but if it's he said she said, look, I've worked in healthcare regulation for a long time, and a lot of times I had to deal with cases where it was a he said she said, where comes up with sexual misconduct or whatever.
Yeah, Stu, but I think we understand now that it's just one of these things where it's, even though it's he said, she said, if there's many allegations against one person, they probably did.
Well,
and the system doesn't always get it right.
And you're right. You're absolutely right.
Just because there's a judgment made doesn't necessarily mean it was the correct judgment.
Well, and a lot of that could be, that's the judgment that they could make,
and that's what I was trying to say
within
earlier.
the scope of whatever.
It's a much deeper construct than just professional wrestling. It's a lot deeper construct.
It can be a societal thing.
Yeah, it's a socio construct that needs to be addressed, and it's just like, how do somebody that has been what was deemed a straight male, how do you handle yourself in a certain situation? Like, you shouldn't feel sorry for yourself. You have to understand that you do have a certain privilege, and you have to understand that there was a lot of things that were deemed acceptable that really should have never been acceptable.
You're right.
And that it's okay to, have feelings. I understand that there's a lot of guys out there, they can't share their feelings, that they feel that they're too sensitive, that they have to be an alpha male. I get that.
Well, yeah, that happens in certain cultures as well. It's like you said, just because it may have been okay in 1985 or 1990 doesn't mean it was okay. It's okay now.
Yeah, just because they didn't get in trouble for it in 1985 didn't mean it was okay.
Right.
They just didn't get in trouble for it.
And at the same time, as I said, there, there are those that may have done something when they were younger. They have since matured. They have grown.
But those are just words.
And those are just words. You're right.
You have to like separate like what some of these people who are like predators.
Well, and that's the one.
As opposed to somebody that told a really bad joke.
And I'll be honest, that's one of the things that has really, that's kind of been in the back of my mind. What happens legally with some of these people?
Yeah.
I mean,
some of these guys can go to jail.
I'm sure there are
Some of them need to go to
instances that the
jail.
statute of limitations has not run out.
Exactly.
And yeah,
And
I do believe
and some of them are minors that they were interacting with.
Yeah, if it is something where jail time could happen, yes, they need to go to jail for it. They need to pay for their crimes.
It's just so sad because it's so disgusting because I get it. These guys were wrestling nerds growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Made fun of because they like professional wrestling. And I can empathize with that. And then they grow up to be the star, but you're still sexually frustrated because you're still that kid on the inside that's insecure, that doesn't you can handle the spotlight inside the ring, and you might be able to work a crowd, but you still can't understand why somebody might not love you because they can't. You're not getting the person that you want, and you try to force yourself upon them because you think that you're a big shot now. That's not the way it works. People have to respect you to be with you. You don't earn the respect by just taking somebody,
right.
and it's like, man, that's something that comes from being insecure. And it's like learning how to work through those insecurities and being okay with being insecure so you don't take that out on other people.
Exactly. Well, and that also speaks to those that have dealt with addiction. Jake the Snake Roberts has, I've had him on several times, and he's talked about how part of his problem with addiction was the simple fact that while he's in the ring, everything's great. But once he got out of that ring, the perception, do people love me, whatever, that's what fed into that whole, I need to drink and I need to medicate myself to deal with that kind of stress or anxiety or whatever. And there are better ways to deal with it. He has since learned with that. Of course, he's become a great success on AEW, being the, I don't know what you call it, manager or whatever for Lance Archer. But, it's one of those things where there are people that don't know how to deal with it. And I mentioned Jimmy Havoc going into rehab. Hopefully he will learn how to deal with those demons. Hopefully he will come out a better person.
But let's not all be shocked with Jimmy Havoc, though. We already knew this coming in. That's just it. It was well accepted from his aura. Yeah. It was part of his character that he was that, hardcore, would be at the bar, close it down, show up the next day, ready for a fight type of character. He lived his gimmick. He was. I think that's what made him appealing for a vast majority of people.
Yeah, it's
So I can't say that I'm super shocked. I'm glad that person's going to be getting the help. But it's just like when you see Jeff Hardy, it's like, are you shocked if he gets arrested for a DUI? No.
Sadly, no.
Right? Okay.
We've heard the stories.
And hopefully he does get the help that he needs and he doesn't have any more relapses. But you just never know.
Well, and that's the thing. It's,
But that's when we're talking about something like addiction. The difference is that we were talking about people that were being straight up sexual predators.
That's true.
Straight up.
Straight up
and
monsters.
It's even more
Monsters,
gross when Joey Ryan, you think about how sleazy he is in the ring, and then he turns out to be even more sleazy out of it with many people that we knew even, and just trying to put himself upon them. And it was just like they were clearly not interested, and this guy never got it.
You think back to when he and Candice LeRae were still a tag team.
I really don't want to. It's pretty gross, man.
But like I said, it's just sad. It's sickening. All right, let's transition. We'll hit segment 2. Talk a little more decent stuff. Lighthearted, I guess, best way to put it. Here we go.
This is Marco Stunt, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. Before we get into the wrestling news, we want to send our best wishes out to Bob Cole from Coke FM, Coke and Cole in the morning. We found out on Monday that he has tested positive for COVID-19. He has mild symptoms, so I think from what I've heard, he's doing okay. I talked to Aaron Hogan the other day. I think it was yesterday. Needless to say, it was a scare at the studios. In fact, part of the reason I talked to Aaron's because he wanted to make sure that the worldwide headquarters was still available as a Horn North Annex.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask.
So anyway, but yeah, best wishes to Bob Cole, our fearless leader at the Austin Radio Network. We hope he gets better. And everybody at Coke FM, Eric Raines, Rita Blue, Scotty Bennett, who I think just turned 50. So happy birthday, Scotty. Anyway, best wishes to Bob as he recovers. Hope you get well soon. Did you watch the final chapter of The Last Ride?
Yes, I watched it.
Okay, we were talking about this earlier. Do you think less of me if I cried? Because I cried.
I mean, I think we kind of all knew.
We did. I
mean,
think
that's
we
why.
did,
I guess that's why it didn't
still
hit me as hard because I was like, kind of knew.
I had a feeling, but it still hit me hard. You think back to just everything he's done in the ring. I mean, you look at that gimmick, in 1990. And, we've talked about it before, about how would that, if that gimmick debuted now, how would it be received?
You know why I didn't shed any tears? And
what's that?
How come I haven't been like,
because you're heartless.
Or thank you, Taker, or anything like that. It's because we all know he's going to be back.
Well,
they're going to drive up 2 dump trucks full of money. And they're going to unload it on his front door. And he's going to be like,
Vince
okay.
calls, break glass. Here comes the Undertaker again.
Yep. And we
all
never know it's going to happen.
Yeah. You're never really, truly retired.
And it might not be next year. And it might not be the year after that. But it might be like 5 years down the line. And he won't wrestle, but he'll make an appearance. But he'll be back.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
So, but anyway,
I think.
Happy for Undertaker. Hope he and Michelle and their kids get to enjoy life down in Southwest Austin. I'd love to see him at a Lake Travis game. If we have high school football, love to see him at a Lake Travis game. Mark Henry comes. Why not? Why not Undertaker? So, Undertaker, if you're listening, you're welcome to come to Lake Travis game. Just let me know. I'll, make sure they roll out the red carpet. So,
can you make him turn off the lights?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that type of pool.
Dave Cody, who's the PA announcer for Lake Travis, of course, former Austin sportscaster at Fox 7. I think we can find a way. Dave indulges sometimes in my love of pro wrestling. So
okay.
So yeah, I think we can make that happen. I just gotta get Honig to not be a diva. So Bucky might like that though. Bucky would enjoy that. Did you see who debuted on AEW last week?
Oh, I think I kind of know the guy just a little bit.
Stroke Daddy himself, Absolute Ricky Starks. And he has signed.
I know. It was like not only did he make his debut, he got signed. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ricky Starks. He is he's been the hottest free agent lately in pro wrestling. Looks like he's going to at least.
Well, he is a former NWA television champion.
He is. They brought that up on the show.
I know, that's the
when he went against Cody for the TNT title. So hey, that was kind of neat.
I know. At least they make the title mean something. So it helps out everybody in the end. And
it was a good match. Ricky looked fantastic as
as if there was no doubt.
I think the most impressive thing was after the match on Twitter that Dominique Wilkins had an interaction with Ricky Starks, saying that
That's pretty cool.
he might come out and be his manager, or at least get a matching like Ricky Starks jersey, or maybe he'll wear. Don't be surprised if you see Stroke Daddy wearing a highlight reel jersey from the Human highlight reel.
I think that'd be neat. So, you happy NBA's coming back?
Yeah, hell yeah! I'm like the only person I know that like loves.
Is it
basketball.
coming back? I think we know it's supposed to come back like next month in at the Disney at the ESPN complex there.
I mean,
at Disney,
I'm thinking it's going to come
Florida.
back. Obviously, a few caveats. It looks
Yeah.
like
Let's hope it works.
It looks like Jokic might not come back though, because he was in Serbia also.
Yeah, that's true.
So he might not be coming back.
That's
and there's
true.
a couple of other players that will opt out, that will decide not to play, which is totally understandable.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that throughout pro wrestling, and it'll probably be in sports, especially baseball and basketball, because you have players living.
We'll see
if there's baseball.
We'll see if your baseball happens.
Good Lord, I don't know. I saw Jeff Passan from ESPN tweet out that it sounds like it might happen. I said I'll believe it when I see players on the field. When I see a pitcher take the mound, I'll believe baseball's back. Until then, no.
I think the big story is that the Women's Professional Soccer League was going to start their tournament, and everybody was quarantined, and they were following the protocols in order to get to these tournaments that they were going to start playing. They were going to be the first league back, and then the Orlando Pride, their team, is now out of the tournament because somebody went to a bar, got COVID, came back and infected the whole bubble that they built. So half the team caught COVID.
Yeah.
And now, beyond that, who knows if anybody's going to have any lasting complications from this, and that it could possibly end their career. And I'm serious.
That's true.
I know it sounds crazy, but there's some people that, even though they got it and they recovered, they were not the same.
Well, that's the thing, and that's that. Again, part of the problem with this, and that's why you've heard, wash your hands, wear the face mask, social distancing. It's because we still don't know everything about COVID. We still don't know everything about the coronavirus.
We don't have a vaccine. We don't have a cure.
Our
we don't
friend,
have anything like that.
our friend Jeff Serta that runs Heel Face Wrestling, he's battling it right now.
Oh, I did not
And-
know that.
and
about
best
Jeff.
wishes,
Yeah,
Jeff.
Dang.
As I call him Mr. Number 10 out of 8. I give him grief, but, we love him. We want to see him get better. But he mentioned he lost sense of taste.
Yeah, that's one of the
You know,
signs.
So, it stinks. So, anyway, congrats to Ricky Starks. And I look forward to seeing some big things from him in AEW.
He was made for television.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's always wanted this. He wanted the
Yes.
direction. He always said that he wanted to be directed. Because I even mentioned it. We saw him backstage at the AEW event when they came here.
Yes.
And I was all like, I was talking about his NWA run. And I was like, hey, so did they write that? Did you come up with that? And he's like, I came up with it. But I want somebody to tell me what I should be trying to say. Somebody give me direction. So hopefully he gets what he's searching for. And I think with AEW, he should get it.
Transition to WWE, SmackDown Friday night. End of the show, we had the Firefly Funhouse. Bray Wyatt come, he's talking about he's not done with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman walks out saying that he is done with Bray Wyatt. And then Bray Wyatt transitions. He says he's raised the dead, transitions, and we're back to Wyatt family Bray Wyatt.
And I'm totally okay with that.
You are.
Yeah, so why are you this? I'm confused. How come you are not?
It's not that I'm not. It's just, it's kind of funny that we have already abandoned the Fiend and gone back to.
No, we have not abandoned anything just yet. It fits the storyline.
Well, he's not Mick Foley. He this isn't Three Faces of Bray Wyatt.
Whoa. Wait right there, mi amigo. So, you mean to tell me, just because Mick Foley had 3 faces of Foley, that Matt Hardy can't have like 5 different versions of Matt Hardy, that The Undertaker can't have 2 distinct versions of The Undertaker, that has multiple versions of the dark side of The Undertaker with one American Badass thrown in?
I did like that one.
Okay, so why can't this work if
Just
he is
because I'm
one
not a Bray Wyatt fan. I'm just being.
And
I'm
I was
just
like,
being
and you have to remember that Bray
difficult.
Wyatt is essentially the replacement of The Undertaker. He is now like the guy that has supernatural powers or does Or
Yeah, I was
he's
gonna
like the
say,
guy that can break the fourth wall in some
I
way.
I would be careful about calling him a replacement for the Undertaker, but I see what you're saying.
Everybody is a replacement of somebody. That's all that pro wrestling is.
I know the machine keeps going. It just felt it was like, really? We've already decided to revert back?
Are you saying it doesn't fit the storyline though? I think it's excellent callback.
I guess it does. I guess
was Braun Strowman not
see.
in the family?
I want to wait and see what they do with it. I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, it's expected that Bray's going to take the title off Braun eventually.
Yeah, but he can
So maybe
legitimately
it'll
do
be
it
this,
though.
Maybe it'll be in this form.
Like it works on so many levels. I know Braun's huge, but Wyatt isn't like a small dude.
Yeah, sure.
And it looks realistic. And again, it's terrific callback because he was in the Wyatt family. Maybe there's some sort of supernatural mind control that they're going to throw into this match as well. That will even out the odds.
You saw Braun's expression change when he saw, if someone said either the Wyatt family or you, I guess, call him Eater of Worlds.
And this is a good opportunity for Braun. I know it might seem silly to some, but for me, I think this is a huge opportunity for Braun to show that he has, quote unquote, those leading man chops, if you will. Because in order to be a great champion, you got to have terrific facial expressions. You have to be a good actor, at least in the realm of professional wrestling. Yeah, because if you go back and you look at some of John Cena's big moments, I mean, man, his facial expressions are always on. Same thing with The Rock, same thing with Stone Cold Steve Austin. For as much as Bret Hart wasn't a great talker, his body expressions were always great in the ring.
That's true.
So if you can't sell it, it's hard to be the number one guy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. One other thing, Charlotte Flair tapped out to Asuka Monday night on Raw in their Raw Championship match. So Asuka's still the Raw Women's Champion.
Because Asuka Ichiban, number one. That's what it means.
No, I thought her phrase was nobody's ready for Asuka.
I know, but I'm saying
Suzuki-gun?
I'm saying that she is number one.
No, of course she's number one.
She really is that good. I've always been an Asuka fan. That's just it.
Charlotte Flair, on the other hand, it looks like she's going to be off TV for a while because she is out for surgery.
I mean, she probably been putting it off, and a well-deserved break is needed. We saw her everywhere for the past 3 months, and you said she needed a layoff.
She needed this, so here's the break.
Yeah,
it could be an extended absence. I've heard everything from, at least SummerSlam to may not even see her till Royal Rumble next year. So, anyway, whatever the surgery is, all the best to Charlotte Flair. So, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, a few other notes, including our man Bobby Cruz. He's going to stick around a little longer. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
So I know we're still free-flowing here, but I wanted to
and we're on video, so.
Yeah, I want to propose an idea still because it is
Idea time.
And maybe they can, whoever is watching.
If somebody's watching.
Somebody's watching, or, they go back and see this.
Yeah, people do go back and watch.
You'd be surprised. In our final segment, since there's no shows, can we do I don't want to use a gun term or shooting anything, but I where we go through things super quick, just random
rapid fire.
Yeah, a rapid fire thing where it's just kind of since we're probably not going to talk about Ziggler or Rude, it would have just been
No, I saved that. That's why I stopped now. That I was going to save that for the third segment.
Yeah, but then it's
as
all
well as Mission Pro becoming all women's.
Yeah, but then it's well, I still wanted to ask you how you felt about the ninjas in Tozawa.
That's right. Tozawa's now the 24/7 champion.
Yeah, exactly. Little things like that probably wouldn't normally be made. Just things that I feel
well, let's do the segment.
Maybe someday that you'll leave off, and then I'm oh. All the stuff I would like to get to you about that we don't get to you. I just like to be okay, I just need your thought on this.
Well, that's why we had the podcast only segment, but there hasn't been enough going on for us to do a podcast only segment.
Totally understandable.
So
that's why I'm just trying.
But we can still do it for the video.
Well, yeah.
So we'll go through the third segment, and then whatever we don't get to in the third segment, we'll stay on and talk about it.
But I don't think I have anything for today's third segment, though.
Well, that's why I listed the few things I got. So, all right, let's do this.
The This is Ring of Honor ring announcer Bobby Cruz, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, back on the horn. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons. You just heard the man, widely considered the voice of Ring of Honor, and our good friend who wears our shirt, Bobby Cruz, has signed a new deal to stay the voice of Ring of Honor Wrestling. So good on Bobby.
I know. I was like, congratulations, you're gonna be the voice a little bit longer. You know, it's
well,
he's been there since like the start.
Yeah, he's been there from just about day one, and he's been hinting about going away, but it's not going to happen yet. And I, for one, am glad. We love Bobby. Like I said, Bobby wears our shirt. I've got the picture to prove it.
Oh, and a shout out to Carrie. He finally gave me a follow on Twitter.
Carrie Silken?
Yes, sir.
Carrie Silken's best.
And don't forget to check out his podcast
That's
well.
right. The Last Stop Penn Station. He and Ian Riccaboni. I mean, they will go through everything. It's wrestling. It's Carrie's life. The ticket broker. Everything. Check him out.
Carrie dealing with those ticket scalpers.
Yes.
Man, but he has some interesting stories.
Oh, he's fantastic. I need to get him back. We need to get him back on soon. Do a whole hour with Carrie. We can do our own version of Last Stop Penn Station. Maybe.
I mean, you have to sell it to Carrie. I mean, I have no problem with that.
I think Carrie will do
you
it.
gotta ask
I think
Carrie
Carrie will do it.
himself.
So, but yeah, good on Bobby Cruz. So, also thanks again to AAPW for having me out. Once again, had a great time doing commentary with Eli Freeman, young man that has been working hard on commentary there. Had a great time. Some good matches. There's one kid. What's his name? Atlas. No, I can't remember his first name, so forgive me. Young man, the last name's Atlas. I mean, he's got this look, tall, stacked body. And I didn't want to tell him this, but it's almost reminiscent of early Rock, like Rocky Maivia.
Oh, crazy!
I mean, there's a little.
But do you see it? Do you see like he can be?
It's not the same moveset, just his look.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying sometimes, like this is something that I always noticed when I was in wrestling school.
Yeah. Because
I already knew I wasn't going to be like the next Ric Flair or anything like that. It was proven to me very quickly that you still have to have like this natural ability in order to get to that point, but you could tell like who was going to be very good at this business by the way they either worked or by the look that they had or by the way they talked. And you can just tell even at it's like seeing kids in preschool.
He's got potential.
It's like that kid's going to be smart.
He's got potential.
Yeah.
He's got potential. I mean, he's got to put it together, but he definitely has the potential. And our friend Steve Orino has been working with him a lot. So anyway, a lot of fun. Enjoy. Thanks again to Ray Campos and everybody.
Steve Orino, let me just say, that guy is somebody that deserves a break. Come on, man. Somebody can...
We need to get it. I told him I want him on one of these weeks. Have him just sit in with us.
Promoters listening out there.
Yeah,
just
Steve
give that guy
Orino.
a break. That guy goes at it each and every time.
He'll
give you everything.
Love Steve to death. He's having fun too with this AAPW thing. Seems like so. Good stuff. Couple other things. On Raw Monday night, we also if you haven't noticed, AJ Styles is now on SmackDown. They've done this trade. It was for talents TBD. Well, it found out that in exchange for AJ Styles, SmackDown sent Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode to Raw. And we got Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre coming up at Extreme Rules.
And
for the world title.
I'm okay with that. Actually, I was going to say the whole episode of Raw was actually quite enjoyable.
It was pretty good.
Like, it was well paced.
It's been good. Yeah.
I say it's strange to say, yes, it has been good. I can't say that about every episode of Raw, but the last couple of weeks have been really decent to good television.
Yeah, they have been good. And it didn't dawn on me. It's silly me, but we haven't seen Robert Roode on TV in a long time.
No, but we mentioned that like last week or 2 weeks ago.
Well, found out why. He's in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Remember, he lives in Canada.
That's right.
So he can't come down.
That's right.
Because of the whole travel restriction thing. So
completely forgot. How are you digging? Are you digging the Rey Mysterio storyline with Dominic? I mean, it's getting better to me. I think.
That's interesting. I get the sick feeling that Dominic's going to turn on him. And join Seth.
I mean, I can see that also, but that's what makes the storyline
I
so intriguing.
I know.
It would play to Sal's character.
It's supposed to happen that way, but as a fan, of course, I don't want to see it.
No, that's like blood. That's blood on blood.
Defend the honor of his father. So
that would be like Dustin turning on Dusty.
Yeah, we can't have that. So, Major League Wrestling has made an announcement. They're going to bring back their old MLW Underground TV series. So this was a series that started in 2003. It will be available on BN Sports as well as the MLW social media platforms and their YouTube channel. You will get to see things like the formation of the Extreme Horsemen. You'll see CM Punk wrestle there. You'll see some other stars. You'll see Dusty there, Steve Corino.
Yeah.
You'll get to see kind of how MLW became what they were. And of course, seeing them now with the Pulp Fusion series on YouTube as well as the anthology. I watched the anthology series the other day on the Extreme Horsemen, and they'll sprinkle in little bits to keep the current storylines. Like they were showing, it was Ross and Marshall and Kevin on the island, and Ross they were doing something with a rope to help strengthen Marshall's hands so he could do the Von Erich Iron Claw.
Yeah.
So that was neat. Next week they're going to do the anthology series on Contra Unit because Contra Unit has allegedly taken over MLW.
It's kind of funny though. It's smart because this is what a lot of YouTuber creators do already. Is kind of provide these backstories. Because I'll be honest, and I'll give you credit because you probably take it to that extreme that I'm not willing to take it to sit down and watch every show live or even tape it and go back and still watch the show. I can just catch highlights or I have to catch up with the whole concept of a storyline because I've never even seen it before. So these YouTubers that make those type of videos can be really helpful to me. So it's good to see that MLW is just kind of doing it themselves.
And they built this storyline into, explain why they're not around because Contra Unit's taken over the headquarters. So even that, give credit to Court Bauer. He's still, got that mind going.
Still
real good
thinking.
stuff. So, anyway, so there you go. That'll do it for this week's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can follow Justin Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we're proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day on the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns. We are The Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Central on The Horn, or catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com and click on the On Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. For Justin, I'm Stu. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. We will see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night. Bang!
And there we go. Now, is there anything else we left off?
Not that I can really think of. Nothing that
I see.
thought
I was trying to
like
think.
Super.
Oh,
important.
I forgot to mention Mission Pro Wrestling.
There you
yeah,
go.
See?
Dang, that was you.
Yeah, that's me. That's all me. Sorry, Thunder Rosa. I promise I'll do better. We'll talk. We need to get Thunder Rosa on again so we can talk Mission Pro. Mission Pro Wrestling has announced they're going to go become an all-women promotion.
Yeah.
So all-women ring crew, commentators.
But this is something that has to
promoters,
happen
roster.
in every industry. I'm not saying all women necessarily, but there definitely is, like, especially in my industry of broadcasting, there is a. It's like for me, it's kind of weird because it's like, do I even count as like a Latino in broadcasting as a minority? Because I understand like what white privilege is, and I can't lie to you. I know when I benefited because of the color of my skin, as opposed to where my lineage is from, and my bloodline and such. But I even know that there is a lack of black and female representation, and Latino representation in broadcasting. I don't really ever get a chance to work with that.
Yeah, I've worked with the late great Sean Adams when he was still around. I love Sean to death. I'll go way back in Austin broadcasting. Hugh Lewis that used to do the show with David Anderson and John Madani.
Oh yeah,
way back in the day.
Yeah, no doubt. The thing is, though, Stu, I'm just saying.
But you're right. There aren't many.
Yeah, it's like when you can, when you distinctly remember who you worked with, as opposed to like I've had tons of broadcast partners, and I can't tell you who they are, but yeah, if they stood out, and if it wasn't because of their talent, it was just because it was like, oh, good. Yeah. I had a chance to work with a couple of females when I got to do gymnastics, and I was like, well, I know there's other ones that know how to do softball. I know there's others that understand baseball. I understand there's ones that are great at football. I don't question their knowledge if they love the sport. Right. I hate when guys do that.
Well, see, that's silly. When it comes to writers,
or when they get hit on.
One of my favorite football writers is Shireen Williams, who used to work for Star Telegram. I think she's with The Athletic now. She's a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, she's in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, and she has forgotten more about football than I will ever know. And it's not like she's older than me. I think we're about the same age. But Shireen is just fantastic. And it's such a pleasure to get to share a press box with her. And kind of pick her brain and that's, alongside the likes of Rick Goslin and Clarence Hill and some of the other great media sports writers and such that I get to be with when I go, say, to Cowboys games and such. It's one of our great friends here in Austin, Cedric Golden from the Statesman. Love hanging out with him. Of course, he's an fellow East Texan, so we kind of at least chew up some of the same ground. So. And yes, it needs to be, that way in wrestling, whether it's all women promotions or just, different looks for commentators or what have you. It's
well, I mean, for people that make the decisions, I mean, even in these independent promotions, it would be nice to have people of color, to have female perspective within the people that are making the boards and the book. And I get the other books tends to happen, and it's like that needs to change though.
Right. And it's not just. There needs to be a whole, like a myriad, Like, for instance, I consider myself lucky that I get to do commentary for Inspire Pro with Eamon Payton. And Eamon Payton's a gay man. I love him to death. Love his husband, Josh. Josh does all the sound for us. And they're fantastic. And Eamon, I'm kind of the voice of reason to Eamon, because Eamon will get excited. Like when Effie won the Pure Prestige title from Ricky Starks, Eamon was, he was full fanboy, which you expect that because, again, Effie being gay and everything and what he represents. And I like Effie. I've worked with Effie before when we did the shows in Atlanta. So, but it's neat. And it needs to, we need to have more like that. I worked with Shady Hawkins, Bones' wife, in commentary.
I was going to say, it's not that there haven't been...
but it just needs to be more, right?
Well, no. It hasn't been that there has been a lack of homosexual performers in professional wrestling. That has always been the case. It's just that if they were deemed homosexual, that they would never be seen as a truly professional act, that they would never going to be anybody that you could build a promotion around. And now I think we're starting to see, it's like, yes, so a character is gay, so that might be part of their act, but that doesn't mean that they're just like a mid-carder. It doesn't mean that they're just a sideshow on your card. They can be the main event. True. It is acceptable. It is a different time. Things change. It's okay.
Things do change. Look at Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
She's a transsexual woman. And
but she's not a sideshow, though.
That's she's a main eventer. She's a main eventer. She was champion. She was the world. Yeah, she was the world champ. Yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm saying. It's just that for a long time, professional wrestling. I mean, even in Mexico, they had these stereotypes of these characters, but they were never seen anything more than a sideshow. And that's why I'm saying that now that they're starting to be seen as legitimate piece of the show, like, so, like an actual draw, an event to come see. That's how we start to have these changes. But we need more of it still.
Yeah, we do. We do. And
It doesn't have to trickle. You know, we can open up the floodgates.
We need people to encourage and to clamor for that too. It's like you said.
Well,
it's
we need
like
the
you
people
said,
that have power to want to
right.
make those changes.
Well, again, it's
or have a
getting away
platform
from
like we
the
do.
machismo that has been associated with wrestling for so long, and it just understand that there is talent everywhere, and it can be a different color, it could be a different gender, it could be a different gender identity, it could be it doesn't have to look like the stereotypical wrestler from back in the olden times. So they can take a lot of different forms. So we've seen it in WWE with Sonya Deville. Who was Titus O'Neil's partner? Darren. Can't think of his last name.
You're thinking of Darren Young.
Darren Young.
And
Thank
I
you.
don't know if he's still wrestling still.
I don't know if he is either. I know he's still on Twitter, and I follow him on Twitter. But there was a big story about when he came out. I think of Sonny Kiss from AEW. I just saw he and Joey Janela as a tag team, which that's a tag team I never even imagined. But hey, it was fun. This is as bad as it has looked the last few days. I really do hope that this pain will lead to some fundamental changes.
I guess I really don't have that much pain anymore because, I mean, obviously nothing happened to me necessarily.
Right,
But,
right.
but more importantly, though, it's just because it's like, okay, great. Don't have to hide anything. It's something that's going to be able to change, and things are going to start changing from this point on. And they need to just continue, though, to continue to change because this is so sorely over needed.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So,
and it's like, yeah, there's going to be more stories. But this is good. This is what exactly needs to happen. And it's okay to go back and question everything that you saw before.
It is.
Because, you'll see it in a completely different light now.
There was, you think about...
And you're going to have to make your own conclusions.
The Japanese stereotype from back in the day. With the likes of Mr. Fuji and, Toru Tanaka and men like that.
Yeah.
How they were portrayed in the ring.
No doubt that wrestling is always applied towards nationality and racist stereotypes. I'm just glad that, I guess the reason I'm glad that this happened is in the sense that I can finally talk about these things that I've always noticed, but it's just like, we kind of just, we let it slide because it's pro wrestling. And I'm just like, no, it's like there's no reason to have to do this type of gimmick in 2020 unless you're going for something like avant-garde satire, and even then I still question it. But I was just it's just like the whole Joey Ryan thing. I was just like, dude, I've never been a fan of that. And then finally everybody just kind of said, oh, this is funny, it's cool, just accept it. I'm like, it's kind of sophomoric.
It was very Attitude Era-ish.
Not even, it was just like haha toilet humor to me style.
Yeah,
I've never been a big fan of that, so I was just like, damn, man. But okay, he got it over, so I guess that's what talented wrestlers do.
Yeah. But who knew?
Yeah. But I guess a lot of people knew and just didn't say anything until now because they couldn't, fear repercussions. Totally understandable.
Like I know they delayed releasing Being the Elite episode until today because they had Joey in this week, and they have gone back and erased episodes in the past that had Joey Ryan in it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where
he gets the Benoit treatment.
He's gonna get the Benoit treatment.
But for how long? When does somebody get welcomed back? Does he get a chance to be welcomed back?
I don't know, because again, it's kind of like what we were talking earlier. These were actual acts.
Yeah.
And multiple.
Yeah, he could go to jail.
Again, that's one of the things.
And even then, but though, if he goes to jail, again, like I said before, this industry isn't founded by saints.
No,
And
you're
it's
right.
like if the guy's talented enough, you get a chance to come back, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, does that guy ever get a chance to come back for what he did, though? Because I can imagine
It's-
there's going to be some locker rooms that he wouldn't be welcomed in, for sure.
That's true.
And I don't know if anybody would care to see him after this. Like, you have to have a lot
That's-
of drawing power in order for that to people kind of like
And,
be like, oh,
yeah.
let that slide.
Not to mention the fans reacting to him.
Yeah, I keep on forgetting. And I guess sometimes you're like, kind of my reminder to that is that there's some people that really, like, I see it as, I see this like I see every sport. It's like, do I love NBA basketball? Yeah, but in the end, I know it's a business. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
saddened when we trade away our best players or what. I just understand it's like, it was bound to happen. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I still have a little bit of fan in me.
Yeah, so it's like, oh man, there's some people that really love Joey Ryan, like bought merch. You know, went to go see
Yeah.
him specifically, gone to his shows.
Heck, I drove him and who was he working with at the time? Was it Heather Monroe? Somebody. Anyway, I drove them to Killeen after they had an Inspire show. No, it was they were working Wrestle Circus, and Joey was supposed to work TCW
Yeah.
and didn't have a ride to Killeen. I said, well, I'm planning on going. How about if I take you? And I did. So
I
took him.
know. I have the picture with the matching members only
Yeah.
jackets.
So
It's sick.
yeah, I mean, we've got a liner from him. I got a, and I've deleted it. You know.
Yeah. I was like, well, I guess we're not going to be needing that anytime
Yeah.
soon.
So, Dave Christ, you know, I still remember Melissa Foss and I having a great conversation with him in Chicago at StarCast, at the first StarCast, and who knew? Yeah, who knew?
So, I mean,
There's a lot. I mean, and
How
boy,
do you-
there's a lot of names.
were you shocked that Matt Riddle came out and won on SmackDown, considering that there was like allegations building on him on Twitter?
Not really, only because from reading, apparently these have been ongoing, and he has been battling them.
Okay.
He's got an attorney that issued a statement that the allegations were false and everything, and so it sounds like maybe this was I mean, and I don't know.
And
And that's part of the problem is that, look, I don't know these people. I've met Matt once when he wrestled Wrestle Circus. That's it. So, you know, again, it's kind of was it a matter of somebody he did something and it unintentionally went a different direction, or was he truly a scumbag?
Well, I guess we'll find out at some
Yeah.
point, right?
Right. I
But,
mean,
but for right now, it seems that they're going to push him, though.
Yeah, I mean, he pinned AJ Styles.
I
Looks
know.
like that's going
The best wrestler on the roster right now.
Absolutely. So,
So I have to ask about this one, but Jim Cornette and the allegations of where he's. Can I say that now?
That's
since-
weird.
Since we're off of.
well, we're on YouTube, but that's
Right.
okay.
Back when
Yeah,
it's the,
there's
like, Cut
there was
Cold,
something
right?
about there's something about.
Yeah, he's
See, I haven't read all the allegations. There was something dealing with him and his wife, and
No, he's been remarried. So like this is this
is his current wife.
Current wife.
Yeah,
That his performers, like what OVW would have to perform for him with his wife,
something like that. Yeah,
like in sexual acts that he would bear there to witness.
Right.
So I'm like, now obviously he's going to fight this with an attorney because he has Stephen Pinu or whatever.
yeah, and we've heard that from several guys that have had allegations.
Yeah,
levied against him.
and I understand that, but I'm just kind of like, wow. I was like, this guy who features prominently in like Dark Side of the Ring seems like he's going to have his own Dark Side of the Ring if these allegations are true.
I tell you what, the last 6 months could be its own Dark Side of the Ring. So, you know, and that's kind of I don't know if I hinted at it or what, but that's also something. And I don't want this to come out wrong. I don't want it's the old saying of, not everything on the internet is true. Like it was Barbie Hayden tweet out, look, if you're using this to get at somebody because you don't like them, go away.
Yeah, I mean that's different though. But I mean, if there's enough people saying this against certain people, then
Right,
there has to be
people.
something going on.
Right, certain people. But there are those that have had just, one or two allegations, and it's one of those. It's kind of like, okay, well, it's, and I don't want to discount. I don't want to minimize what they're saying, but at the same time, you're lobbing allegations against someone else. Where it's one of those.
This goes back. If you want to have that portion of the conversation, all you have to understand is this coincides with like Black Lives Matters, and understand like if you're gonna lob an allegation, it's just like if you're gonna call the police just because you think that somebody shouldn't be in this neighborhood because of the color of their skin, you have to understand that if you are a white person, that you could be putting that person into grave danger where they might not be able to live. They're not going to get a chance to have a conversation with the officer. We've seen that happen one too many times. And if you're going to make these allegations, that they better be true, because unfortunately there are people that, I mean, it goes both ways sometimes, but we have seen where their allegations have been made and they were false, but it does ruin that person's career for at least the time being.
Who's the lacrosse team? Was it No, it was Penn State, right? Duke. Thank you. The Duke lacrosse team several years ago, where it was at a party or something, and a female student, accused them of something, and everybody piled on and wanted Duke to get rid of the lacrosse program, and then it came out that the young lady wasn't truthful. That's what I'm saying is, don't be that person,
Yeah, but we also need to grow from how we treated like people like Monica Lewinsky, how we treated who was the lady that accused Thomas Clarence of sexual harassment.
I can see her face.
But you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like those people, those people were like vilified by the media. They were made fun of when, in actuality, they should have had our support because they were telling the truth.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It's
like you have to understand that those things shouldn't have been funny at the time, and like all these people that are saying like, "Oh, it's edgy, it's supposed to be funny." It's like, no, it's a juvenile joke. It was never funny. It was never really acceptable.
Edgy is having a hardcore match, like the ones I saw at GCW. That's edgy. Instances of sexual misconduct, especially against minors, that's not edgy, that's illegal.
Yeah. I'm just like, wow, man, this is crazy. There's going to be, I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't exist. It didn't all just come to light just this time.
Right.
It's been happening.
It has been throughout the history of pro wrestling.
Yeah. And that makes you wonder. It's like, where are these legends are going to stand? Because obviously this behavior just doesn't stem from this current generation of wrestler. Like I mentioned before, I mean, there was a accepted code of honor that, you protect. It's like you protected the other wrestlers. You weren't going to break that code. So it's just kind of like, well, they did something wrong. You probably knew about it, but you just didn't say anything because you were making your money, because it was about making their money. And I get that.
There's been also talk of, desire to get rid of certain terminology in pro wrestling. There's a term that has been used throughout pro wrestling to describe a female fan. And I think that's part of what needs to happen for pro wrestling to evolve, is get things like that out. There's, and like you said, it's going to take a while, because you'll have people, you'll have promoters, you'll have wrestlers that stick to the traditional ways, as they like to call it.
That's all that tradition usually is, just an old way that needs to change, that nobody wants to change. And it's not usually for the best of reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of times it just is, that's because the way we've always done it. It doesn't necessarily make it right. But we'll see how that turns out, man.
Yeah, we've
hopefully this, like, all this stuff that's happening right now, Black Lives Matter, this in pro wrestling, other people speaking about their jobs, will lead to systematic
Absolutely.
social change. But you got to do
I
your
hope so.
part.
But yeah, you've got to. That's the thing. That's why I said, it starts by just being a better person. Treat
Man, just
others.
be considerate.
Treat others like you would want to be treated. It's that old do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I try my best, and I fail sometimes, but I try my best to be as friendly and cordial as I can be. Doesn't matter who. And I try, and I also try my best to make sure that it doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from. If you want to come up and talk to me, please talk to me. I'm happy to chat. I had some fans at AAPW on Saturday night who listened to the show, by the way. Came up and chatted with me, and I enjoyed chatting with them. And I'll tell my stories 43 times. Justin's heard most of them, so
Yeah, I was.
But I'll tell those stories. About whether it's getting the Gorillas of Destiny on Radio
I was
Row.
there for some of them.
You were there. Whether it's wrestling or the Super Bowl or whatever else I do. Like finding Mark Henry on the Lake Travis sideline that one time. Which, boy, you can't miss him. With all the people that are on a football sideline, even in high school football, it's hard to miss somebody the size of Mark Henry. It's when you're coming around the corner there, in the end zone, and you just see this large mass of a man, and it's like, hey, I know him. So, by the way, Mark Henry's going to be on. Did you see this Sunday Broken Skull Sessions? He's taped Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I'm
That's
probably
gonna air
like
this
the worst
Sunday.
wrestling fan because I don't really watch anything besides
I saw a tweet.
in-ring product.
I just saw a tweet about it. And
I hardly ever watch shows unless something like life-changing happens on one of those shows.
Well, Mark Henry will be on Broken Skull Sessions. I think it's supposed to come out this Sunday on WWE Network. I will definitely check it out. Texted Mark, told him happy Father's Day. By the way, happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that should be a fun conversation with Mark Henry and Stone Cold.
I mean, it will be entertaining. Mark's a funny guy.
He is, and the conversations that Stone Cold's been doing these Broken Skull Sessions, and they've all been just fantastic. Whether it was Undertaker, Big Show, had Bret Hart. Who else has he had? Kane. He's had a few, and they've all been really, really good. So, but I got to find out where Undertaker was fishing. He had a nice little spot.
Probably private spot. Probably.
Well,
place that you can't
I'm trying to.
access.
Okay, I know where the neighborhood is. It's somewhere. It
Probably
may be
gated.
somewhere on Lake Travis.
Probably behind a gate where you're not allowed.
True.
No,
I have been in that neighborhood once, but it wasn't for him. It was for former Longhorn Cullen Loeffler, who spent a bunch of years with the Minnesota Vikings. We did when we were all still doing the Longhorn Lowdown podcast with Todd Hunt and Stevie Lee. We went to Cullen's house and had Cullen on, and he lives in Spanish. He lives in the same neighborhood as Undertaker does. So I think he said he's seen him a few times.
Oh, I'm sure. Posh, right?
Cullen's real heavy involved with Rodeo Austin. Does a lot of stuff. So like Cullen, he's a good dude. And of course, Undertaker gets to come to more Longhorn football games.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out.
If we have football,
or who's allowed in, we'll see.
Yeah. So, I bet you they'll find a way to let Undertaker in.
We'll see.
They like to have Undertaker in.
We'll see.
All right. Well, we've been babbling on long enough, so we should probably sign off for now. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Thanks for the bonus segment. And again, catch us on the Horn Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Central. We're on, you can hear us on podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And I think next week I'm supposed to talk to SoCal Val. You remember her? She used to work TNA. I think she does a lot of stuff with Fight TV. She's got this venture with Lisa Marie Verone and Mickey James. And so we're going to talk about that. So hopefully I'll have that ready next week. And we'll see what else comes up. Let's hope no more disasters. Let's hope no more bad stuff. Let's hope we can get back to having some fun. So, but for now, for Justin Simmons, I'm Stu Meyer. Thanks again for checking us out. And we will see you at the matches.